Veronica has always been a very sympathetic girl from childhood. It's clear that a kinder child simply does not exist. She helped everyone. Veronica was raised by grandmother. Mrs. Ross tried to give the child everything, not to feel the absence of parents. Her parents were constantly at work. Mother and dad were doctors, who have recently worked in another country, completely entrusting the child to the grandmother. They were calm. At this moment, when parents first moved to another country, Veronica was 7 years old. Mrs. Ross worked as a school principal, to which Veronica herself later went. Grandpa didn't know her. Grandmother always said that he went missing many years ago. Girl perfectly understood what parents need to work, so I didn't ask questions about when they returned. Grandmother lived very peacefully. Girl made friends with the neighborhood kids, with whom I spent a lot of time. In the yard. Mrs. Ross was a private house, an ordinary and not very big house on the outskirts of the city. The courtyard of the house had a small garden and a lot of flowers. Veronica loves to water the plants. She tried not to miss a single flower. Grandmother was very proud of her assistant. Certainly, Mrs. Ross perfectly understood that the girl misses her parents, and she would like to see them much more often, but, unfortunately, it was just impossible. When Veronica was 14, something terrible happened. Her parents died in a car accident. And that day they just flew to their homeland. For girls, this was a huge blow. Hard to convey those emotions, but those who experienced the girl's life have become completely different. Now she had less joy. Earlier she looked forward to her parents, and now there was no one to wait. After this health incident, and grandmother deteriorated sharply. All what's left of Veronica is taking care of your grandma. So another 10 years have passed. For this time the girl finished school and graduated from the university. She received a specialty, which I was of no use. The specialty's Veronica was the investigator of the new city. It was very difficult to do this job. City was very small. There were more than enough people in. Such a prestigious job. When the girl turned 25, she decided to move to the capital. Grandmother approved it, and said that you don't have to sit next to her all the time. Long time, Veronica, I couldn't make up my mind to move. To her it was very scary to leave Grandma alone. Grandma was so worried. How you will be alone here. You don't worry about me, I can handle it. It's time for you to think about the future. Need to find your place in life and arrange your personal life. Grandmother always tried to set a good example granddaughter, and even in those moments, when she was sick, she kept a cucumber. Veronica, I knew my grandmother very well and constantly cursed at her. Young woman wanted to be helpful to her, but at the same time I saw what Mrs. Ross handled everything on my own. After many months of thinking, Veronica nevertheless decided to move to the capital. So, saying goodbye to all your friends, she took a train and left in search of a better life. Capital City turned out to be much more what was shown on TV. Beautiful landscapes, the architecture of the houses pleased Veronica's eyes. Young woman was very happy, and finally made her dream come true. In the evening the same day, the future investigator rented an apartment, and after a few days I was able to get a job at the police station. Veronica always wanted to help people, like her parents, but the soul for medicine somehow did not lie. Yes, I don't sense it. She's nothing at all. Chose the profession of investigator she quit by accident. She had a friend in class, who always dreamed of being a police officer. Veronica decided to enter legally with her. She understood that this work will also benefit society. When did you start studying? Understood immediately. What exactly is that, what she needs? Intuition, she was well developed, yes, and she thought not standard. Teachers many times marked her as the best student. Girls really managed to unravel the most complex crimes, however she imagined the work of an investigator in a completely different way. First, her working day was disappointing. She was appointed assistant investigator. Her duties were only to sort out papers, and sometimes even bring coffee to your boss. Worked there Veronica exactly 1 year. For this time no changes happened. Can say that all her expectations collapsed. Young woman resigned from the police and radically changed her life. For working hours, what's the rules on in the department? She was able to train as a makeup artist. Thought that this profession will be more in demand and more paid. She wasn't wrong. Certainly, the girl was very surprised. What a job, which is really important to society, so little is paid. But the world doesn't work that way, as she expected. Now the girl worked as a makeup artist in one of the salons. She did very well. With time, Veronica formed its own client base, and some clients provided services at home. Life changed noticeably, much more money, and soon she bought herself a car. Now, for every weekend, Veronica went to Mrs. Ross. Girl loved spending time at home. However, every Sunday I had to return to California. I am waiting for a job and a rented apartment. Personal life at Veronica, so it didn't work out. She was always busy doing what she loved, guys. There was just no time left. One day Veronica returns home from work. It was raining heavily outside. She drove very slowly, as the city once again stood in a traffic jam. Young woman really wanted to go home, so I decided to shorten my way through the yards. Turning the yard and a little drive through it, she understood that her wheel was punctured. Then Veronica was evil to the whole world, but she didn't even know that it was a sign of fate. Young woman opened the car door and went outside. I discussed the umbrella above you, and she began to examine the wheel. Veronica ran into a self-tapping, which treacherously stuck out of the ground. 11. Everything didn't stop, and even though it was a hot summer outside, it got very cold in the evenings. Then she returned the car and began to think how to fix her wheel. She knew very well what's in the trunk of a spare, but how does she do it? She had no idea. Veronica, I've only been driving for a year and have never experienced anything like this before. After sitting a little in the car, she went outside again. Young woman took it out of the trunk of the spare tire. She couldn't even imagine, she's so heavy. But irony of fate, keys in a young car lady, of course, did not have. We too. Digging in the trunk for a long time, thus attracted a man, who passed by, despite heavy rain. He got out of the car and approached the girl. Young woman, let me help you. Veronica quickly turned around and saw a young man in front of her. He was very high, so I looked up at him. He had white teeth. What did Veronica notice? But if it is not hard for you, then help, please. I got a wheel here. I can't even imagine how to fix it. Here I looked on the internet, but unfortunately, I do not have keys. At this moment, Veronica, I felt like a Barbie doll. She saw them on TV. She also lost the power of speech in front of a handsome man and spoke incoherent words, and I was ashamed. What does she say to her head? Veronica scolded myself for being so stupid, which was spoken, but without end. Man looked at her in surprise and then left. My own car is not pretty looking. Veronica appraised the car, on which this man came. Nearby there was a big SUV. After a few minutes the man returned with the right tool and began to change the wheel. All this time the girl tried to hold the probe over the man, so that it would not be completely flooded with rain. After that, how was the wheel changed? The man was about to leave. Wait, please give me a sec. Veronica quickly ran to the car and found my wallet there. How much I owe you just saved my life, Veronica said, moving the money in his wallet at the same time. You are kidding me. Helped you just because you are in trouble, not for the purpose of making money. Then how can I thank you? If you give me your phone number, it would be better than any thanks. Veronica blushed sharply, and saw that she is very embarrassed and Poland at the attention of a man. She hurriedly took out a business card from his wallet and handed it to the man. Means you are a makeup artist? The man smiled. Well, yes, the girl said modestly. I will call you on the weekend. Call any time. Total good, Veronica. To goodbye. Man left, Veronica left standing in the rain. She was hit by a man. Rain intensified even more, but Veronica continued to stand on the road and watch the trail of leaving cars. Young woman came to my senses only after 10 minutes. Crap, I didn't even ask his name, exclaimed the girl. By half an hour she was at home. In goals in Veronica there was only one man that helped her on the road. She didn't understand what was happening to her. She lay down on the sofa and plunged into dreams. It seemed, they met just an hour ago, and it's completely unknown, will he call her or not. However, she already planned her whole life with this man. Girls became very ashamed of his thoughts. Following these thoughts, Natio started to remember, did she ever love? No. She had a boyfriend at school, but there somehow everything was not serious. After already at the university she was in love with one student, who reciprocated her. But then something changed, and at one moment Veronica woke up and realized that this is not the man who should be her for life. Because everything was serious enough. He even introduced her to her parents, but the girl thought that with this guy she would not get her happiness. Maybe it was the right decision. If she was with him, so that it was then quicker total, also lived in that city, otherwise, what is happening around just would not see. Veronica always dreamed of something else. Life in her hometown was completely not for her. Young woman lived in the capital, made good money, could even at any time go to rest on the sea, but that's just a wish. Such she has, unfortunately, did not have. Grandmother's granddaughter said many times, it's just not possible to work so much, but the girl and I did not want to listen. Every once in a while, when visiting Grandma, Veronica used to give her something expensive. To her it seemed, what Mrs. Ross, so she will be more proud. In fact, Grandma was just happy about that. What am I, granddaughter, finally decided on life. Veronica lying on the couch and dreaming, how she in a wedding dress goes down the aisle with this man, whose name she never knew. These thoughts sometimes became even funny. Their daydreaming, she spent about an hour daydreaming, and then she just fell asleep. She had a beautiful dream, like she's running around her grandmother's house and going on a date with that man. After a dream she understands, which is in a completely different city, starts to panic. Date scheduled for 8 a.m. Already 7, the girl runs around the house and can't find her keys, and time goes by. Veronica woke up in a cold sweat. It was 7 in the morning. She quickly jumped out of bed and ran. Bath. Today at 8 a.m., a girl will come to her for wedding makeup. Dream as if there were things, more likely, subconscious gave out pictures from memory. She was very afraid to oversleep, and didn't hear the alarm. Veronica quickly drank a cup of hot coffee and began to lay out cosmetics. Smooth Sophia came at 8. Veronica, I talked to many of my clients like they were my friends, since some of them visited her almost every month. Hello, bride, hello? But are you ready to get married? Veronica smiled. I don't even know what to say. One side finish, on the other hand, something scary. Not worry, now there is you, I will make this beauty, that all the excitement as if by hand will remove. We will hope for it. Veronica started to prepare the wedding image for the bride. Work was very meticulous, and it took about an hour and a half. Sophia gasped, when I saw myself in the mirror. Veronica made sure again, doing what you love. Sophia Latins are very satisfied. And the girl saw her off and closed the door. Today I had a day off, and there was absolutely nothing to do. Young woman constantly looking at the phone, afraid to miss a call from that stranger. However, he didn't call. So Saturday passed, and then Sunday. Young woman was completely disappointed. Sunday in the evening she went to her grandmother. She has to have 2 more days off. If not for this expectation, I would go on Saturday. But my heart continued to believe in miracles. She has been waiting all weekend for a call from this stranger, but he won't call her. Arriving grandmother's, Veronica immediately took on household chores. Last thing, Grandma didn't feel well. She kept postponing business for later. So the girl saw a huge pile of plates near the sink. It is seen that the floors in the house were also not washed for about 2 weeks. Grandmother, that you don't feel well. You know, lately I've been having a lot of headaches, pressure keeps dropping. Why don't you call me and never say anything? Granddaughter, you have your own life, and somehow I lived out my life. Grandmother, can't fix you. Veronica, I scolded my grandmother for a long time for that she does not devote time to health. She redid all the household chores, and then fell asleep. Grandmother could not stop looking at her sleeping granddaughter. Mrs. Ross still thought she was a little girl, though soon Veronica turned 30. Elderly woman never spoke, but she was very worried that at the age of 30 the girl still had no personal life. She dreamed of great-grandchildren for a long time. Mrs. Ross, I was ashamed to talk about it with my granddaughter. She was constantly afraid of offending her. Before going to sleep, grandmother went into the room with her granddaughter and straightened a warm blanket. The following 2 days Veronica ruled in hometown. She takes care of my grandmother, without giving her almost anything to do around the house. Because quarrels often arose between them. Grandmother, I wash the floors myself, go have a rest. Granddaughter, you need to rest. You that hasn't worked out its own California. Grandma, I tell you well, go and have fun. Sofa. Grandmother obediently went and sat on the sofa, but kept watching how Veronica washes floors. Day flew by unnoticed. In the evening, gathered at a round table, a conversation began between the granddaughter and grandmother. Sol didn't understand for a long time how to start it, but today everything somehow happened by itself. Veronica, I want to ask you everything. Do you have a boyfriend? A girl choked on tea, and then raised her eyes to her grandmother. They were so big that Grandma was even scared. No, grandmother, I do not have anyone. You know, work takes so much time that the relationship of forces simply does not remain. This you're in vain. Need to, so that the force remains to work. Will not meet you at home. Grandmother, what do you mean by that? What can't be done? All you won't make money, but ruin your health. Can I think to myself, if you don't want lovies and it's time to have kids, grandmother, understand, no such person, with whom I would be ready to share my life. More precisely, I recently met him, but he didn't call me back. What for the young man was able to conquer you, smiled Granny. Yes, it doesn't matter, I want to earn a lot. I remember very well how we lived with you after the death of your parents. Not enough money for anything, though you tried to do everything, but I already understood and saw everything. Tears ran down Grandma's cheeks. She understood that at that moment, when parents were gone, the girl still noticed the lack of money. Though Mrs. Ross tried, another life immediately felt. After sitting down for a cup of tea, they went to bed. In the morning Veronica went to California again. Early in the morning she said goodbye to her grandmother and left. Today, like yesterday, pouring rain. Young woman drove very carefully, she didn't have much driving experience. Arriving at your yard, she parked the car and wanted to go home, but drew attention to the old man sitting near the entrance. Despite to that it was raining heavily outside, he was wearing a thin coat. Well, why are you sitting here in this rain? Immediately rushed questions to Veronica. Yes, I have nowhere to go now. How it's nowhere? I was in this city for an operation. I was discharged a day early. My family just doesn't know about it. Tomorrow in the morning they should come for me or my son, or daughter. The problem in that I left my phone in the hospital. I don't remember the number. So let's come to me, you more dry. No, in no case. I won't embarrass you. You what? You will sit on a bench all night, nothing terrible, but I won't go to you. Fine, if the stones don't go, so let's get in the car. Sleep in the car. Old man looked at the girl with sad eyes. This would be great. She accompanied the old man to his car, unfolded the seat, took the pillow out of the trunk. Man was very grateful to her. Young woman returned home. Certainly, she did not feel any peace of mind. To her, I really wanted to persuade the old man to spend the night in the apartment, but he flatly refused. Then the girl collected dinner in a container, hot tea, took a warm blanket and went outside again. She fed the old man and gave him a blanket, so as not to be so cold at night, because it was already approaching autumn. Now with peace of mind she went to bed. Veronica was so trusting that she left the car keys to the old man. She completely trusted him. Keys, then put it in the mailbox, if the wound goes away strongly. An old man nodded back. Veronica believed in honesty, despite that she was deceived many times. Long time the girl couldn't sleep, She woke up and went to the window. All it was quiet enough. Machine stood in the yard and the light in it. We are burning. As grief in half, she still fell asleep. In the morning she was awakened by a strange phone call. Hello, Nick said in a sleepy voice. Veronica, hello, it's you and LA Worries. Yes, I listened to you. Young woman began to sort out in my head, who could I call from another city? Tell, please, you have a valid account by phone number, all you understand, to me nothing to talk to you. Young woman hung up. How tired of these scammers. Yes, how many calls can you make, not how many times have you said, that no data, a courtier's yes. The girl rolled over on the other side and fell asleep again. However, I slept and I lasted quite a bit. Now she woke up from MS, arrived on her phone. Sleepy through the eyes of the girl began to read the messages. On your account is credited. The girls started to run their eyes. How many zeros were there? The dream was taken away by hand. She quickly jumped out of bed and began to enter. Mobile bank. Message, it was true, she had 1 million rubles in her account. Veronica, at that moment panic set in, she just didn't understand what she should do. Now I have never seen so much money in my life. She ran to the nearest bank, to find out where she got that kind of money from. I in the bank was told only the name and surname of the person who did the translation. These initials didn't give anything. She didn't know this man. Young woman asked the bank employee to tell at least in what city such a person lives, but according to the rules of the bank, the dissemination of such information was not available. Operator shrugged and Veronica went to the street. I just threw in. It was scary and fun at the same time. After the girl remembered that in the morning some number called her. She quickly dialed numbers and waited for an answer. Hello? You didn't call this morning. Yes, hello, called. To you, money has been credited to the account. How it was you who transferred me such a large amount I would not say, that is a very large amount. For that, what you have done, you deserve big rewards. What did I do that? The girl did not understand what a pleasant male voice said. You helped my father yesterday, and today my father asked you to thank. You what? Mocking, I didn't do anything like that. Send me my details, so that I can transfer the money back. This can't be a conversation. I won't accept that much money. Tell at least, what is your father's name, Mr. Baun? But I was told that the money was transferred by a completely different person. All right, I transferred money. My father and I are different. My last name is my mother's last name. All it's kinda weird, because I am too Sokolova Veronica. Let's come to LA and you will understand everything. Yes, fine, I will definitely come. Young woman understood that there is some history here, which she doesn't know yet. To her it was very interesting to figure it out. Name, this old man was exactly the same, like her grandfather, which is now. A lot of years ago, 3 days later the girl was in LA. She was met at the airport by Mr. Baun's relatives, and an hour later she was in a big mansion. Young woman, I just couldn't believe my eyes. She saw such beauty only on TV. An old man met her at home, with whom she provided a car for the night. But hello, granddaughter. Veronica just dumbfounded. Maybe if you hadn't left your driver's license in the car, I would never have known you. You look so much like her father. Tell me, is there Mrs. Ross doing well? Grandfather tried to tell everything, and in one sentence. Wait, I do not understand anything. Settle in on a chair, and I'll tell you everything. Young woman quickly sat down and prepared to listen to a long and very entertaining story. Granddaughter, your grandmother and I evolved a long time ago, long before you were born. Certainly it was my fault too. I am not making any excuses. I cheated on your grandmother. She didn't forgive me. For everyone thought I was just lost. I visited her several times, tried to beg for forgiveness, but she still couldn't forgive me. She also forbade me to talk. Son. But how lucky I am to meet you! Old man told this story and cried. I also need world so huge, and we met. I am so glad that I found you. Sorry I haven't met you before. My grandfather's story was very big. From him Veronica understood that she has many relatives, dressed, Everyone also wants to go back to Grandma, and seems she can help him. Veronica, I saw very well that he still loves her, and dreams of being only with her. Love does not go away with the years, but just the opposite, getting stronger, in that Veronica now, I'm sure. Young woman listened to the story for a long time, but suddenly her phone rang. Allah, she said in a dry voice. Allah, Veronica, it's you. Yes, it's me. Who asks me, this man, that the wheel was changed, can remember I lost your business card. Very long, you claim. Fine, those good people who work in the salon gave me your phone number, otherwise I wouldn't call you, which is unforgivable for me. Patron Saint Day to God, that salon at least remembers. Veronica smiled. She understood, he didn't call. I just because that he didn't have a phone, that's why, that he didn't like her. Young woman screwed myself up. Life began to improve, and most importantly, what did Veronica understand? So this is it, what to enjoy every day. She waited so long for happiness, and that's what happened.